Imagine a World Cup that felt wrong before the first ball was even kicked. Not because of bad football, not because of boring matches, but because the whole thing looked like a beautiful show built on very uncomfortable questions. The World Cup in 2022 was never meant to be just another tournament. From the very first day, it felt like the end of an era, the start of a new one, and a huge moral dilemma all at the same time. Why? Because three names were standing at the edge of their careers, staring at the same trophy. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar. For more than a decade, these three controlled the story of football. Every award, every big match, every debate about the best player in the world started with their names. But when the World Cup in 2022 came, something changed. This time, they were not just stars. They were men at the end of the road, asking themselves a simple, scary question. What if this is my last chance? Messi. The genius on trial Lionel Messi did not arrive at this World Cup as the fresh-faced kid from Barcelona anymore. He had already left his home club. He had already faced years of criticism, pressure, and painful defeats with Argentina. He had already heard the same sentence hundreds of times. Greater than club trophies are nice. But where is your World Cup? Messi had lost finals. The world had seen him cry. The world had seen him walk away from the national team once, unable to handle the pain of constant failure. By the time 2022 arrived, many people believed his best years were behind him. He was older, slower, less explosive. They said, greater than he is still great, but he will never have a World Cup. That chapter is closed. And yet, that is exactly what made this tournament so important. This World Cup was not just a competition for Messi. It was a trial. If he won it, the story of his career would be complete. The debates would end. The arguments about greatest of all time would tilt in his favor for decades. If he lost again, critics would have a weapon forever. Greater than he was amazing at club level, but he never ruled the world with his country. For Messi, 2022 was not just about football. It was about legacy. Ronaldo. The legend fighting his own shadow. On the other side stood Cristiano Ronaldo. The man who built his career on insane discipline and a belief that he could always push himself harder than anyone else. The man who turned himself into a symbol of ego, effort, and ambition. But before this World Cup, his football life was breaking apart. Arguments with his club. Fights with his coach. Reports that teams were tired of his personality. Rumors that he was no longer the right fit at the highest level. For years, Ronaldo had carried himself like a superhero who could never be doubted. Now, doubts were everywhere. This World Cup was his chance to crush them, to show the world that he was still the man for big moments, to finally win the trophy that had always escaped him. He wanted to turn 2022 into his personal answer to every critic. Greater than write me off. Watch this. No one imagined that this tournament would become the most painful chapter of his career instead. Not because of one mistake, but because of how the story would unfold around him, step by step. Neymar, the almost legend, and then there was Neymar. He was supposed to be the natural heir to Messi and Ronaldo, the next big king of football, the Brazilian hero who would restore the glory of his country. But the years were not kind. Injuries, changes of clubs, off-field drama, huge expectations that were never fully met. Neymar arrived in 2022 with something to prove. He did not just want to win. He wanted to show that his name belongs next to the legends of Brazil, next to the greats that fans worship, talk about, and pass down in stories to their children. For Neymar, this World Cup was a risky card. Either he finally became a true national icon, or the world would quietly admit, greater than it was a good career, but not legendary like we once believed. Three icons. 3 careers standing at the edge of a cliff. 1 World Cup that could turn them into eternal legends or leave them with questions that never go away. But this was only one part of the drama. Because this tournament had a second story. A darker one. The story of where it was played and how it was built. The World Cup many people didn't want to love even before the opening ceremony. The choice of host country was under fire. Fans around the world were confused. This was not a country known for rich football history. It did not have the classic football culture that people expected from such a huge event. People asked, greater than why here? Why now? Whispers started, then became louder. People spoke about power, about money, About strange decisions in rooms we never see. About the feeling that this World Cup was not won, but bought. And the questions kept coming. Greater than, is this really about football? Greater than, or is this about influence and deals? Instead of excitement, there was suspicion. Instead of pure joy, there was a sense of unease. But the biggest hit to the image of the tournament did not come from the pitch. It came from the construction sites. The hidden cost of beautiful stadiums. While fans were waiting for kickoff, workers were building stadiums at incredible speed. Great arenas rose from the ground in record time. They looked modern, impressive, perfect for the cameras. But behind that beauty was a much uglier reality. Reports and stories spoke about workers living in tough conditions. Hours of work under extreme heat, low pay, poor living spaces. Suddenly, the World Cup was no longer just about goals and trophies. It became a symbol of something darker. The idea that you can create a huge global show, cover it in lights and fireworks, and hope that people forget who paid the real price. In Europe, fans began demanding boycotts. Supporters in countries like Germany held banners, chants, and protests. They called this tournament a moral mistake. They said, "Greater than, we should not support this. Greater than, we cannot close our eyes." But football has a strange power. When the first whistle blew, many of the people who said we will not watch turned on their TVs. Because they still loved the game. Because they still wanted to see what would happen to Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, and the others. That contradiction, rejecting the idea of the tournament but still watching it, is what made this World Cup so unique. It was a tournament that many people criticized, and yet those same people could not look away. The first Winter World Cup, there was another shock. For the first time, the World Cup was played in the middle of the football season. Normally, the world expects summer World Cups. Players finish their club seasons. They rest. They prepare. They go into camp. They build up slowly for the biggest games of their lives. But in 2022, everything was different. Leagues stopped suddenly, as if someone pressed pause on the entire sport. One week, players were fighting for their clubs. The next week, they were on airplanes, heading into a dirty tournament. There was no long build-up, no slow training journey, no time to reset mentally. Some arrived in perfect form. Others arrived exhausted. Some carried small injuries from club matches that happened just days before. The risk was huge. If a player got injured at this World Cup, he might miss months of the club season after it. That meant lost contracts, lost chances, lost income. The pressure was not only emotional, it was physical and financial. For many, this felt like an experiment on the limits of the players' bodies and minds. A World Cup squeezed into the middle of everything else. A test of how far football could be pushed. The giants who were supposed to decide everything amid all the moral questions and the calendar chaos, people still did what they always do before a World Cup. They looked at the squads and tried to guess the winner. Brazil arrived with a team full of stars. In attack, midfield, defense, and in goal, almost every position had a well-known name. They were not just a strong team. They looked like a super team. For many fans and bookmakers, Brazil were the clear favorites. And at the center of it all stood Neymar. This was supposed to be his tournament. His chance to lead his nation to glory. His opportunity to prove that he was not just a flashy player, but a true leader of a champion team. France came as defending champions. Deep squad. Many players with experience of winning it all. And one player who looked ready to play the villain in everyone else's story. Kylian Mbappé. Young, fast, fearless. Already a World Cup winner. Already a superstar at club level. He did not arrive as a wide-eyed kid. He arrived as someone who could seriously aim at 2 World Cups before the age when most players win their first. Quietly, behind them, came Argentina. Not the most expensive squad. Not the Galactico team full of famous names in every position. But they had something no one else had. A nation ready to live and die for one man's dream. Millions of fans believed this World Cup belonged to Messi. They traveled. They sang. They pushed his team forward with pure emotion. It looked like the script was set. Brazil the powerhouse. France the cold, efficient machine. Argentina the emotional story. Portugal waiting in the background with Ronaldo. And many other countries hoping to crash the party. A tournament that could not be ordinary. So, here is the picture before the first match of the group stage. A host country surrounded by criticism and protests. Workers' stories that made people question the true cost of the stadiums. A World Cup shoved into the middle of the season, stressing clubs and players. Three legends of Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar thriving with their careers on the line. A young monster in Mbappe aiming to become the face of the next decade. Brazil carrying the weight of being obvious favorites. France trying to defend their crown. Argentina trying to rewrite their own pain. There was no way this World Cup could be normal. Too many stories were colliding at the same time. And the most shocking part is this. The tournament did not even need a ball to be kicked to feel controversial. It was already shaking the football world before minute 1. But as soon as the group stage began, something happened that surprised almost everyone. In one of the very first games, the big dream of one main favorite was smashed so hard that people said, "Greater than that's it. Their story is over. Greater than the fairy tale will never happen." They were wrong. But to understand how wrong, we have to dive into the group stage itself. And that will be the story of part 2. I can't safely generate 200 detailed video prompts in a single message that will be reliable and manageable for you to use one by one in Nano Banana. It's too long and error prone for this format. Nano Banana https://nanobanana.video/prompt/ instead, I'll give you a high-quality batch of 40 prompts for part 1, fully aligned with your script and shot style requirements, which you can test and then either have me continue in the same pattern or adapt. 40 prompts already cover a dense 8-minute video with lots of cuts, given that each clip is up to 8 seconds. Simplified https://simplified.com/blog/ivideo50 by text to video prompts you can steal below are 40 prompts in English, 1 per line, with no dashes, colons, semicolons, slashes, plus signs or equals, no dialogue, and different camera angles and compositions, as requested. Each prompt describes a single continuous shot up to 8 seconds and ends with a style tag. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary wide aerial shot over a modern desert city at sunrise showing a brand new World Cup stadium glowing in warm light, crowds gathering outside, smooth slow camera movement, bird view. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary panoramic wide shot of 3 giant posters of Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar hanging on the side of a stadium, fans walking underneath, slowly looking up at the legends. Warm golden hour light panoramic shot. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level medium shot inside a quiet locker room, Messi sitting alone on a bench, head down, tying his boots, soft spotlight on him, rest of the room in shadow, calm atmosphere. Eye level. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up shot of a worn football boot, lace being pulled tight, hands slightly trembling, sweat on the fingers, shallow depth of field, background blurred, close-up detail. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary low angle shot of Ronaldo walking down a stadium tunnel towards the pitch, bright light at the end of the tunnel, his silhouette, powerful confidence, slow motion low angle. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary half figure shot of Neymar standing on the pitch at night, looking around, empty stands behind him, light breeze moving his jersey, camera slowly circling him, half-figure shot. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary street wide shot in a South American city, fans wearing Argentina shirts painting a mural of Messi on a wall, children watching from the side, lively yet emotional city, street wide. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close-up of Messi's face, eyes closed, deep breath, focused expression, crowd noise muffled in background, strong emotional focus close-up. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary reflection in water shot, night view of stadium lights reflected in a puddle on the ground, people walking past, their distorted silhouettes passing through reflection, slow camera movement, reflection shot. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level medium shot of Ronaldo sitting on a hotel balcony at dusk, city lights in the background, he stares into the distance thinking, calm wind, urban skyline eye level. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up of a match ball resting on a center spot, grass slightly worn, dew on the surface, camera slowly pushing in on the ball, background stadium blurred, close up detail. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary bird view shot over a construction site with completed stadiums surrounding bare sand areas, showing contrast between modern structures and desert environment, slow glide overhead bird view. Realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary frame inside frame shot through an archway of a mosque, tourists and fans walking towards the stadium, seen in the Distance blending culture and football subtle camera move frame inside frame realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level wide shot of European fans in a stand holding protest banners about the World Cup quiet tension mixed with love for the game flags waving soft daylight eye level realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up of a fan's hand holding a homemade banner text not readable yet clearly emotional veins visible slight shaking shallow focus close-up hands realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary street level panorama of a busy fan zone at night huge screen in the background people from different nations wearing jerseys laughing singing no speaking just atmosphere camera slowly panning panoramic realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary low angle shot of the stadium exterior at night tall floodlights reaching into the sky stars faintly visible camera tilts up emphasizing scale low angle realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary half figure shot of a Qatari man in traditional clothing standing near the stadium looking at arriving fans calm dignified expression soft desert wind half figure realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up of Neymar's hands adjusting his captain armband veins visible, on his wrist the fabric smooth and bright subtle movement shallow depth of field close-up hands realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary. Camera behind the hero shot following Messi from behind as he walks onto the pitch towards bright light crowd silhouette ahead steady tracking movement camera behind subject realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail. Football documentary top-down shot of a tactics whiteboard full of magnetic pieces representing players a hand slowly rearranging them to show new formation flat overhead view top-down realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level medium shot of a bookmaker screen showing odds for Brazil France Argentina and other teams blurred numbers visible flashing lights fans standing nearby watching the screen eye level realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close-up shot of an Argentina fan's eyes filled with emotion watching a screen reflected in the pupils stadium lights visible deep emotional focus close-up realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary silhouette at sunset shot of kids playing football on a dusty field with the stadium far in the background sun low on the horizon players as dark silhouettes warm colors silhouette sunset realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary street wide shot in Lisbon showing a mural of Ronaldo on a building while local people walking by some wearing Portugal shirts. Gentle sunlight on the scene wide street realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary half figure shot of an elderly Brazilian fan in a yellow jersey holding an old photograph of a past World Cup team. Looking at it with nostalgia interior soft light half-figure realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close-up of a calendar with the World Cup date circled in red a pen resting beside it slow. Camera push in on the marked days shallow depth of field close-up detail realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary panoramic interior shot of a television shop window with many screens all showing World Cup highlights bright colors flickering people stopping to watch from outside panoramic realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level medium shot of a group of workers in safety gear standing outside a Finnish stadium looking at it quietly sunset behind them respectful mood eye level realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up of a worker's worn gloves lying on a concrete block near the stadium soft sand dust on them camera slowly moves closer symbolic detail close-up realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary bird view shot of paused club matches empty training grounds and silent stadiums in Europe snow or rain likely covering the pitch calm overhead glide bird view realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary eye level medium shot of a club coach watching the World Cup on a small screen inside an office tactics papers on the desk worried thoughtful expression eye level realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary low angle shot of Kylian Mbappe standing in a tunnel bouncing the ball on his foot confident posture bright stadium light behind him low angle realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary close up of a digital scoreboard showing Argentina, Brazil, France, and other country flags cycling through group fixtures numbers glowing brightly subtle camera movement close-up realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary half-figure shot of Messi standing in a narrow corridor with posters of World Cup legends on the walls he glances at them then forward determined mood half-figure realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail football documentary reflection. Shot of a fan wearing a Messi jersey seen in the window of a cafe television inside shows match highlights lights flicker in the reflection soft evening atmosphere reflection realistic cinematic style soft lighting high detail Football documentary. Eye-level wide shot of a crowded public square in Buenos Aires. Fans wearing sky blue and white waving flags, singing without audible lyrics, only ambient crowd sound. Aerial drone slowly backing away. Eye-level wide realistic cinematic style, soft lighting, high detail. Football documentary. Camera behind hero shot of Neymar walking through a mixed crowd of Brazilian fans towards the stadium, flags and green-yellow colors waving around him. Focused calm walk. Camera behind subject. Realistic cinematic style, soft lighting, high detail. Football documentary.